I think there's a couple things I would do differently if we started the company from scratch today. I think the one big thing is just making sure we had the right amount of capital and thought through and were confident enough to think through the future beyond what we could see in front of us. So I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are leery about taking capital for good reason, because they don't want to dilute equity and stuff like that. But had we taken capital earlier, I think the company would be further along. So we waited, really, if you think about it, we probably waited 12 years to take serious capital, which is a really long time for a startup to take capital. So I would have done that a lot sooner. We had a lot of dialogue in 2003 when we were about 4 or 5 years old that, hey, the market was ripe and we didn't take the capital at the time, and that probably was a mistake in hindsight. The other thing I would do differently starting over is focus on a revenue model and a business model that had recurring revenue. I came out of an environment where it was a hunter's world, where you hunted for new clients all the time, and you did the big project, and then you were done with it. In the last 4 years, we've been switching the model to a recurring revenue model because it's just frankly a little bit easier to predict profitability when you have predictable revenue. And so if I had to start a business over today, it would be 100% focused on recurring revenue. I'm a big fan of making decisions with your gut. Not entirely with your gut. I like the gut decision backed up with facts that allow you to make a good gut decision. But if I think back, there was many important strategic decisions that changed the plight of TriBridge, obviously getting started. But one that really stands out is in 2003, late 2003. We started looking at how broad the service line was. We were a relatively small company at the time, probably about $6 million in revenue. And we thought if we made the service offering smaller and got really good at a small number of things, we'd grow faster. And from 2004 to 2009, we grew from 6 million to 60 million. And so clearly by making the service offering smaller, we were trusting our gut and really focusing on just a few things versus trying to do everything for everybody. So there's a lot of debate at the board meetings. There's a lot of debate for about a year, frankly, and I was very adamant to make sure that we were very focused on a small number of services, and it paid off. I'm probably not a good person to feel satisfied with the word success. So I think one of the things that drives entrepreneurs is feeling like you can do a lot better. And so I'm not sure I've had this aha moment in business. So one aha moment I've had where I was like, wow, this is really working, is when I've talked to the first customer. And the way they talked about our firm, I honestly thought they were talking about somebody else. And I realized that the level of service that TriBridge was going to offer our customers was going to be a lot better than the firm I came from, which is remarkable because the firm I came from was probably the leading IT services firm in the world, and here I was, this little tiny firm in Tampa with 4 people and a dog, and I was getting a reaction from a customer I had not seen before in my career. And so that was kind of an aha moment, like, oh, you really can be better if you have better people and a sharper idea to be able to collaborate with customers in a different way. And I remember that first customer call where the customer's like, this was exceptional and here's why. I was like, oh, this is going to work. I think one of the keys to the sustainability we've had as a company is that people really identify with the culture of the company. And if I think about what the culture means in the simplest ways, it's the values of which the leaders demonstrate on a regular basis. So it's one thing to put a card together and say the culture is XYZ, and people mostly won't follow that. But it's another thing to have a set of values, whatever they are, and actually exercise those on a daily basis. And that includes hiring people with the same set of values, holding yourself first accountable to those values, and then holding the team accountable. And sometimes you got to make tough decisions. We've had to fire good people that were producing a lot of revenue for us because we believed they were bad for the culture of the company. And there's a certain level of maturity, which I frankly don't have, but our team does, to get rid of people that don't really fit in the culture. And I am most proud of TriBridge, not in the size or any of those other silly things, but you feel great about the way people treat each other. And there's a couple of good books. James Hunter, The Servant, is probably the best book that really just talks about treating people with a certain level of respect and serving them like you love them. which sounds like a corny term in business, but it really does work. And then the rest kind of falls around it. There's integrity and teamwork and a lot of words that would describe it, but it is about serving other people. And I think people like to work in an environment where they feel like they're being supported by everybody, as opposed to being told what to do and only punished and not rewarded. That's an ineffective style. So it's worked for us. I mean, we've had very low turnover, and people like to work at TriBridge, and we're proud of that.